Pretty Girl Club. Welcome back to the Storytime series. If you have a story that you want to be told, please email me at exoticalsunited@gmail.com. Just so you guys know, I do kind of prioritize the longer, more detailed stories as opposed to the super short ones because YouTube does kind of like pay and prioritize videos that are a little bit longer. But you can always start your own YouTube channel and tell your story. But this story says, I hope this email finds you well. I was listening to your latest videos on Kamala Harris, and I wanted to personally add some information. I've been listening to your videos for the past few months. I love your channel and the information that you provide. I wanted to add to what you said about AKAs and their recruitment of Exoticals. My mom is an AKA. She is also biracial, Black and Mexican. Shout out to the Blaxicans. She says, for context, my dad is a light-skinned Black male. He is what they call a unicorn. She told me years ago why she was recruited by the AKAs. They actually came to her personally and asked if she wanted to pledge because of her pretty brown skin and long hair. In my mom's youth, she had waist-length hair and an hourglass figure. And for context, this was back in the 70s. Even today, they are still known for promoting and recruiting Exoticals to their organization. They have always been known as the organization with the pretty girls, and you're correct in saying that is what they are known for and how unambiguous Black women want to be associated with the Pretty Girl Club. The proximity to women like my mom gave them a sense of validation and belonging. I've had members encourage me to join as well, just because of my mom being a member of their sorority. But I was, and still, not interested. I find your videos, stories, and content absolutely fascinating. Much of what you talk about, I can resonate to. I hate to say this, but it makes me feel really weird emotionally due to all of the gaslighting I have received throughout my existence. I am a plus-size woman. I have never been told I was ugly, but forced to identify it as something I cannot fully connect to. I was raised knowing the Mexican side of my family. They told me that I was loved and a part of them. They also made it clear they understood that I was mixed. Enters Black people, you're Black. But I always knew something was off. Despite my size, I didn't have the normal Black girl experience. This email is getting way too long. Thank you for your videos and your content. I love your story times and bringing these weird racial dynamics to light. It definitely gives me a sense of validation knowing that I wasn't crazy after all. It's also giving other YouTube channels that discuss race and admixture a run for their money. Thank you. Yeah, I went to an HBCU. I noticed that they did the same thing to me. They really, really wanted me to join Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So I had noticed that the Deltas, they wanted me to be a part of it, but I could tell that the Deltas knew that the AKAs would like kind of steal me or whatever. And I happen to have a similar phenotype. And by the way, when I was at my HBCU, there was actually a lot of talk about color and colorism. Well, I wouldn't say there was talk about colorism, but for example, I remember anytime there was some sort of organization, whether it was a sorority or some sort of club, people would always bring up the ism conversation as an excuse as to why they didn't make it. And I think that it might depend on what HBCU you go to, but in terms of like the AKAs, I remember there was a girl when I was a freshman, she took off her scarf. She had this pink and green scarf on, like she put the pink and green scarf on me, and she was like really trying hard. She was like, here you go, you get to be an AKA for this week. And I didn't even really know anything about it because I wasn't raised in the African American community. But I noticed that they definitely do that. And also, I even remember when I was in college, some of the other freshman girls actually getting jealous because the upperclassmen girls, the upperclassmen Black girls at the college, they got along with me really well and they were just nice to me. And I was kind of more mature when I was in college. I wasn't super like boy crazy like how the other girls were. So I just feel like I got along well with the upperclassmen girls. And I noticed that some of the unambiguous girls who were freshmen, they actually got jealous because the AKA girls were like looking at me and like kind of being nice to me. And I guess they were apparently trying to recruit me. Well, they actually did try to recruit me. And then they tried to haze me, and I was not down for it. But anyway, I've noticed that people, they try to pretend like they're such social justice warriors, and then they'll say, well, that's colorist, that's texturist, that's featurist, that's anti-black, you're praising certain phenotypes over others. But then the first chance they get to feel associated with women of those phenotype, they're running to it. And this girl says that a lot of unambiguous women wanted to be in those organizations so they could get the validation of being associated with like mixed race women or whatever. And I agree. That's 100% what it was. There were so many women that were unambiguous in particular. I'm sorry, but like at my HBCU, the unambiguous girls were the most thirsty. I'm not trying to be mean, but like the fat girls were the most thirsty to be the AKAs. I noticed they were fat or they had like broken off hair. I'm sorry, but sometimes those women at my particular college were the thirstiest in terms of getting into AKAs or sororities in particular. But I definitely noticed that there are certain organizations in the Black community that have like stereotypes. In fact, the Greeks on campus when I was in college, they would make jokes about it. They would make little memes about it. They would say that like the deltas, that they were good at stepping and stuff like that. They would say that they're like the best at their steps and strolls, or that they're more like hard, if that makes sense. They would say that they were more like the pretty unambiguous girls, and then people would say that the Zetas were fat. They would say the Zetas were fat, and then they said that the Sigma Gamma Rhos, they called them hoes. They called them SG hoes. So there were definitely stereotypes that were associated with all of the different sororities and fraternities. And the fact that we've got unambiguous women online pretending as if they're so like self-righteous, like, oh my god, I don't support stereotyping and like that's bad, while simultaneously behind closed doors trying to join organizations that have a stereotype of being quote unquote colorist or whatever, or texturist. And in the case of AKAs on my campus, they were known for being very texturist. Because like I went to an HBCU, so as far as skin tone, I would say that like any skin tone could be pedestalized. But as far as the texturism and the obsession with hair and hair length and texture and like if it's silky or curly or whatever, there was a huge obsession with that when I was in college. But yeah, what do you ladies think? Have you ever had any experiences with any of the sororities or fraternities? Have you ever been stereotyped as to like being in one of those? Or has anyone ever said, oh, you look like this type of sorority member. Oh, you look like a Delta. You look like an AKA. You look like a Sigma Gamma Rho. You look like a Zeta. I feel like if somebody tells you you look like a Zeta, has anyone noticed that people have tried to say that as like a diss? Like, oh, she looks like a Zeta. Anyway, what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.